welcome everybody to the second hour of Mind Shifters Radio. And, excuse me, today is Monday, April the 11th, 2022. Our call-in number is 563-999-3581 and press 1, and that puts you into queue to talk to us. And we'd love to hear your comments and your questions because that makes this your show. And while we're waiting on Michael to dial in, I'll just remind everybody that this Thursday is the book club, and that's at 3:30 Eastern Time. And the information for that, you can either go to our events page or you can go to the schedule and flyers, or you can click on actually have a link under schedule that says Global Online Book Club. So you can go to that, and it gives you the Zoom link, passcode, and everything to join us on that. It's been an awesome time. They're going through actually, I could say they're going through the Why Is This Happening to Me Again, but it's actually turned into workshops. We did the worksheet, and we've had lots of questions and answers and discussions, and it's just a great group of people from all around the world. And so join us for that Thursday at 3:30. And there's a few other things on the website. There's been so many people that have asked about the Avacen. And so under healing, or you can just do a search for Avacen, but under healing and then healing the mind, body, and spirit, the first thing on there is Avacen. And it gives you information about it, a couple videos to watch where Michael explains it. And so that's something new on the website. Just, go out and look around. I'm putting something out there almost every day. We're making some changes on the app. So because Michael had redone some of the commitments, and I didn't even think about that I had the links on the app going to one commitment. So I'm actually creating a separate page for each commitment so that if he makes revisions in the future, I can just change them on the website and it'll automatically change in the app. So if you go out on our app and you click on commitments and they're not working right now, just give me a couple of days. We're working on that. And just look at some other stuff. And if you find something that's not working, either on the app or one other thing that we're working on is the app for some reason wasn't taking phone numbers that had more digits than we have here in the U.S., and so we're changing the algorithm on that. So anybody who is from another country, if you're having trouble getting signed up on the app, and that's only required the first go-round and if you want to be added to our mailing list. But if you find anything else that's not working, either on the app or on the website, please drop me a line at Jeanie, Jeanie, @whyagain.org, and let me know where it is. Give me the URL address on it so that I can go directly to it and make changes. And we appreciate you. And welcome, Michael.
Thank you, dear heart. And we appreciate you and the brain cells you have to do everything you do on the app and on the website. I mean, I wouldn't even be able to start to do that, sweetie. So thank you so much for your dedication and the hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of work you put in to keep it all coordinated and happening and moving forward. There are a lot of strings to it, a lot of pieces to it, and I couldn't even think about stepping into it. So, mucho
you are
gracias.
welcome. And, just like this show and just like many other things on the website, the app is absolutely free. So download it or update it if you haven't got the latest.
And free. Let me talk about free for a minute. When we traveled, for 40 years we traveled. We paid our own expenses in our workshops. 95% of them were free. But while they were free, this stuff doesn't happen for nothing. We haven't figured out how to do it for nothing. We've made things free because there are people who just don't have the money to afford it, who just, they're just not. And so we want everything that we do to be as available as possible to everyone, whether people have money or not, it's irrelevant. And, again, I invite you to just notice, none of it happens for free. 20,000-page website, believe me, it doesn't happen for free. Doing this radio show doesn't happen for free. And so if you're in a position, if you're receiving it free, and if it's benefiting you, and you have, you're in the space where, I go into Starbucks and I pay $7 for a cup. If you're there, then support us. Give something back, and I assure you that beyond a not a relatively meager, but a very meager lifestyle, believe me, everything will go right back into how do we make this available on the next level. Probably the outside of doing the work now with doing the app and all the stuff that goes on with that. Probably outside of that, our biggest expense, the biggest thing we spend money on is something for Aria Rain. She gets the toys. And of course, that's pretty much, that's pretty meager as well. But just in the spirit of goodwill, I tend to stay away and leave the idea of that alone, of asking people to support us kind of off to the side, because I want to make sure that it's out there and available. But help make it available if you're in a position to do that. With the fact that we're not on the road at this point. It's needed, frankly. So if that works for you, I kind of along for the days. Several of you will probably remember Lady Jane, who was a minister at Unity in Indianapolis, Indiana, and or actually, it's a little town. I'm not remembering the name of the town. In any event, and she'd call in every month. She used to tithe to us, and every month with her tithe, she would call in and remind everybody, support what supports you. So, Lady Jane, in your honor and after your example, I put that request out there for support. And again, if you're not in a position, don't ignore it. And please be here and call into the show and ask as many questions as you've got and as many as you can, because that's what we're here to do. It's about that. It's about delivering the work. And that other becomes part of the process because, the internet company doesn't give it to us for free. Blog Talk doesn't let us come on the show for free. The people in India want to be paid. Those things happen. So I just put that request out there, and the easy way to do it, you can go to our website, whyagain.org, and you'll see a button there. I think it's fairly prominent that says donate. Click the button. It goes through PayPal, but you don't have to have a PayPal account. You can enter any credit card or bank account, or if you want to do a recurring, you can go to PayPal and you can do a recurring kind of thing. Or if you don't want to go through that routine, but you'd like to donate on a monthly basis, if you want to contact me directly and set something up that just goes directly into the bank account for the Kobouris Institute, we can set you up to do that too. So lots of ways to support the work. And of course, if you're not in a position because money just isn't there, and I certainly understand that, there's been a lot of financial trauma for people the last couple of years with COVID and all. If you have a skill, we have a young man named Michael Pethy who's getting ready. Actually, I think next weekend or the following weekend, he's going to be arriving at Heartland. Heartland has been open for 2 years now with COVID. And so he's moving there, and he's going to start working on projects around Heartland, getting the property cleaned up and that sort of thing, and getting the infrastructure in place with a view toward, once COVID's cleared, are we ready to go back to doing intensives at Heartland? So he's moving there to do that, and be on this. He'll be he and Julie Haverstick will be the support team program, and if you want to go out and help to do some projects at Heartland, if you've got something you can do that take the app and if you've got the skill of publicity or internet skills or writing skills or whatever, and of course we've had people who've shown up who have skills that they want to change the direction of this work according to what they understand and believe, and that's not really possible if someone wants to step in and assist and support. It has to be in alignment with, I've had people who went, well, here, I'm a writer. Here, let me rewrite your worksheet for you. Well, no, that's not going to happen. But we do have a writing project for you here. If you do, oh no, well I'm not interested in that. So if you're willing to be directed and be supportive and assist, our commitment ultimately is to make this available to every mind, heart, and being on the planet. And one of the things we're looking at recently is setting up some sort of, and I'm not sure, I've just started to kind of look into it, some sort of a foundation or something that will perpetually make our website available so that it's here forever, that it will be self-funding and perpetually move forward on a global scale until we get to the point where we're touching into every mind, heart, and being on the planet. And while I'm putting that thought out, there's another piece of support that I'm going to invite, and that is, if you go to Facebook, there's a man named John, John, Considine, Sonsidne. He is the Unity Minister in, what city? A little city just outside of Detroit. In any event, he posted this morning about his concern. He's been tapping into and reading about how part of the policy of Mr. Putin in Ukraine is rape, and his concern for those who are subject to that insanity. It's an old war game that if you impregnate all the enemy's women, then the enemy has no more purebreds left, and that's a way to defeat an enemy. It's an old insanity, and so vile and so vicious and so insane. So if you are interested in that as a topic, then I'd invite you to look up John, John, Considine, Considine. And John is working on finding a way to fund support for women violated in Ukraine, as many were in Syria when the Russians went in there. One of my replies to John as he posted that out of his concern was that the same work, it's like a healing. My invitation, my response to him was, so here's what we need. We need every person, man and woman, to look at their own inner rapist, because it is a global problem. We live in a culture, my take in working with people over the last half century is that at least 60%, that's 60%, 60 out of every 100 people in America today have been sexually assaulted, men and women. It's insane. It's crazy. And rape isn't just about genitals in this context. When I say they're inner rapist, I mean where the healing of it's going to be is when people start going inside themselves and heal that part of them that want to control, that want to take what belongs to others, that want to own, that want to run other people's lives. This is the inner rapist. It doesn't have to extend down into genitals, but that's the extreme extent of it. But where it starts in mind is the desire, the greed, the desire to have what someone else has and or to control what someone else has. And, you look at the idea that this country was, and, a lot of people say, well, yeah, it was founded in liberty and every man is created equal, but then look what they did with the non-white Americans, and people will say, well, it was founded by, whites, for whites. And that's kind of the racist trope that goes on today in the MAWA crowd, make America white again. My offering is, yes, that is certainly a valid way to read it, and or maybe there were people who, even though they were participating in insanity, I mean, many of those who signed the Constitution were slave owners, but maybe they had Well, there was nothing they could do at the point. I mean, if they had someone and it meant, I have my plantation and this is how I have money, and they probably perhaps couldn't fathom how they could probably change that, but they'd have vision that it was possible. And it's like all of us, right? And a lot of times people really degrade themselves because they can't live up to their highest ideal. Oh, here's what I want to do, but I can't do it, and so they quit. And my offering is, no, stop. Part of creating something totally new in the world is oftentimes participating in the old, egregious way of doing it. Those who are lost in it and maybe stuck in the inertia of it and can't fathom and can't get out of it, but have a vision. When one has a vision, it doesn't mean one can live up to that vision. I say that from my own, if you look at the commitment, and we've renewed it, which is another change made in it just a few days ago. Haven't made the change in the commitment, I don't even know how long. I don't know, Jeannie, has aside from the last two changes that were made, do you remember, have I changed the commitment
2017.
Since we met? 2017
was one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then two have come in just the last few weeks. So as I personally get to catch up with my teaching in my own personal mind, in my own personal conceptual structure, then I get to see the next mountain range and what's possible. And I say, oh, here's where I want to go. It doesn't mean I'm there. But this is what I'm efforting for. And I invite you to be gentle with yourself if you condemned yourself for not being able to live up to what you've efforted towards. Because that condemnation is just another power person dynamic. When the child didn't achieve what the adult said they were supposed to achieve, the power person, drove the child into the ground. And so that child perhaps, and it was very justifiable, of course they weren't capable of getting up and walking or whatever that's a metaphor for. If you are beating up on yourself because you're not living up to your highest ideals, stop it. Forgive that power person dynamic of beating up on yourself for anything ever again. And there's an ideal, there's a vision, and you may beat up on yourself tomorrow afternoon. I don't know, and I might too. But once you catch yourself, and you remember that non-being mind is so enormous, so massive, literally the reflection of 1,000 generations of insanity. I mean, how else could it be? Everybody in your bloodline and my bloodline that's over 120 is dead. You only die from insanity. That's the only cause of death. It's suicide. We do it to ourselves when we bring in energies that weren't designed to be in this energy system called the human body-mind unit. That's the only thing that kills us. And remember, you don't have a body. Let's listen to Einstein. On such things as matter, we have been all wrong. What we have heretofore called matter is energy whose vibrations have been so lowered as to be perceptible to the senses. There is no matter. So when you realize we don't live in a material world, you don't have a material body. Yes, your mind makes it appear that way, but if you could see it as it actually is, you'd see this whirring mass of electrons, protons, neutrons, and light. You wouldn't see a body. And there are energetic patterns that support that body's existence, and there are energetic patterns that don't. And guess what? We've all been brought up in energetic patterns. They're insane. I ran across a post this morning on Facebook. A young woman had posted, a woman from Canada had sent me a friend request, a therapist, and I kind of looked through some of her posts, and she had a post from Pythagoras. If you remember from your high school days, the Pythagorean theorem, on triangles and such. He's a mathematician. But he did a really profound piece of writing on eating animals. And that, as I read this thing from Pythagoras, I contemplated my own journey with eating dead animals. And, I was brought up in a home with a mother that if she didn't put meat on the table 3 times a day, she would have been deficient. So it just, my question, part of when I reposted her story about Pythagoras, I posited the question, how many things, whose mind thought something up that we do today without thinking about it? Like I, for years, ate meat without thinking about it. I can remember the day, I used to be in the restaurant business. This goes back better than 5 decades ago. And I can remember the day a man came in and wanted to know if we had a vegetarian meal. And I can remember looking at him and like my brain just didn't compute. It's like, what do you mean vegetarian? You don't eat meat? No. When I realized that I'm a full-grown adult and I'm living high on the hog. I eat meat 3 times a day, and I think I'm really rocking. And I started to think about that, and that was about the time I started to study naturopathy, and then I started to understand what the human body's actually designed to eat. And it ain't dead animals, believe me, even though most everybody's doing it. But I look at that presumption. I was just born and bred in it. It was just part of it. Now, you couldn't stuff a piece of dead cow in my mouth for love nor money. And my son is even more extreme than I am. I can remember where my son made the shift. He used to love cheese. We used to call him Mr. Cheesehead. But we brought him up vegetarian, not vegan. And he was actually, the kids, when they became 13, we homeschooled them. And then we gave them a choice to go to school if they wanted. And he went to a school in North Carolina where it's a small school. I think there were about 30 students. And, they lived in houses with family, adults who were kind of the caretakers of that particular house and family. And the kids chopped their own firewood and made their own meals and washed their own dishes and did their own, all of it. So it was a life skills type of school, along with academics. And I can remember this was at the time when Mad Cow was becoming the big thing. And I remember being on the phone with my son, Michael J., who at that point was Mr. Cheesehead. And I was reading him an article over the phone about Mad Cow. And that was it. That day was the last time he ever put one speck of animal product in his mouth. He was brought up vegetarian, so it wasn't a shock to him. But he made the decision to do that. Now he's stricter than I am. I will still eat cheese from time to time. He won't even wear leather. And it's an extreme vegan position of, we just don't do anything that abuses or risks abuse to animals, which is, I think, a really powerful position. But when you think about all the things that we do, the behaviors we have in our intimate lives, in our relationships, and the way we think about children and parents and neighbors and friends and enemies, all those things and the way we think about them, most of it was inherited or genetically implanted. And there's been a lot of insanity. And so in the context, perhaps go take a look at the website and download My Commitment. And in fact, I've made a change or two, and I'm going to read it. I read it, a few weeks ago when I changed it back then, but I'm going to just read it again. And in the context of this, I invite you to think about any decision in your life that was not your choice, but you were kind of born and bred with it, and to think about, is it really in harmony with the truth of who you are? And of course, I'm asking myself that question too. So my commitment goes, I promise to trust you enough to tell you the truth, to be true to you, and always engage in just and fair behavior with you. I had someone, when I put that in, I just put that in a few weeks ago, and that just and fair behavior is from the Beatitudes of Yeshua. And I had one person, actually a therapist, who came back to me and was like, "Oh, that's just too heady for me. I'm going to stick with the old commitment." It's like, well, Of course, do what you like, but if you can't contemplate just and fair behavior in your relationships, it's probably because you're not doing just and fair behavior. And it might be the subject for some forgiveness work. And, as I interacted, there was a great deal of resistance and kind of like, okay, I'm getting into the arena of playing John the Baptist here. I think I'll keep my head attached and just drop the conversation. But that little change really flared up for somebody who loved the commitment. But no, I don't want to do that just and fair behavior thing. I commit to always be sweetness in your life. This is what a human being would do. To nurture you daily and to treat you lovingly, gently, and with respect in my thoughts, words, and actions, whether I'm in your presence or not. In every interaction, I commit to affection for you, to look for and acknowledge the highest and best in you as I surrender to love, our true nature. I will use only voice tones that reflect my deep caring for you. My connection to love, our source, gratitude for my relationship with you, and our serenity will always be more important than any issue. I open my being to embrace you in my love. I open my being to be embraced in your love. If anything unlike love comes up in me, I will hold this in my heart and listen as I learn to speak experience and be responsible and forgive my own realities. I'm here for and with you, to you, as I keep communication open and keep love conscious, active, and present as we heal, celebrate life, and grow together. Now, my offering is that that's how a human being would function. I mean, literally, if you go back to the moment where you first held a newborn child and you tapped into the essence of that newborn, that's how a newborn would function. That's just my offer, my take. That's the natural, what would naturally flow from that state of being, untouched by the world. And then we come in and we are impaled on all kinds of insanities, including the one I just offered about eating tortured flesh. Is there anything that you're doing that's out of harmony with that commitment? I'm asking myself that question as well. Then I invite you to recognize that it's not natural for you to do that. It is not in your nature for you to do that, although it may be your second nature. When they say it's second nature to him, it's our second nature. That's not our primary nature. That's what we've been brainwashed with by our genetics, by our family systems, by our cultural systems, by our world. And we're at the point where we've been so blasted by insanity that because of the behaviors and the greed of humans, we're at risk of literally destroying the planet. And to me, we're in need of healing. Primary tool that Yeshua taught for healing, a way to consistently, persistently change those behaviors that are out of harmony with the truth of who we are, is forgiveness. That's why we're working to make this available. The single reason for why people are starving on planet Earth today, why there is war, why there is rape, why there is murder, why there is divorce, why there is child abuse, why there is spousal abuse, the only reason for all of that is that the humans who exist now on Earth do not have a comprehension of forgiveness. They don't know how to undo that in themselves. Many will rail against it and say, I'll never do that again. How many have ever heard the alcoholic after an alcoholic binge and the damage they've done, and they look at the horrific things that they've done and they say, oh my God, I'll never do that again. Guess what? If they don't have forgiveness, if they don't know how to go inside themselves and remove the behavior prompt for doing that, then guess what they're going to do the next time they get drunk? And the stresses are right. They're going to do it again. Why do people do aberrant behavior? Because it's in them. Oh, no, I did it because of what Bill did. I treated him that way because of what he did. No, you didn't. You treated him that way because of what was in you. And you got the original of what you did to Bill. He only got a carbon copy. Every energy we originate first puts its signature in our own tissue, in our own cellular structure. Every energy we initiate. And so it's time. It's time for us to function like humans again. And this show is about supporting and assisting you in bringing that to fruition, if that's of interest to you. If it's not, then, have at it, whatever works for you. But if you want that, we're here to support it. The whole purpose of this show, the whole purpose of everything we do, the purpose for our website, all of it, the app, is to assist and support that. Is to literally be able to uncover the root of every atrocity ever done in our bloodline and clean it out. And so if we can support you in that process, then that's what we're here to do. And our call-in number, if you're on one of those stations where we can't see you, is 563-999-3581. If you call that number, you'll be listening to the show. And if you push 1, that'll put a hand up in the phone queue. And Gene will know you want to talk to us, and we'll have a conversation. And if you're not using the forgiveness tool at this point, we invite you to go to the website. Again, it's WHY.org. And on the website, you can live do the forgiveness process. You can do it right there on the site. You can print off the results on your own printer if you want to keep your results. Or you can go to the page on the site with worksheet downloads, and you can download your favorite worksheets. There are several different versions, different nuances in them. And you can print those off and use them at home. Or you can go to your app store on your phone and simply type in the words Heartland, Heartland, one word, Heartland, Aramaic, Aramaic, forgiveness. What you'll be looking at in your app store is the world's only forgiveness app, first and only. Created by thousands of hours of work by Miss Jeannie, by tens of thousands of hours of work between the two of us over 40 years to bring this forward. And accolades to Dan McDougall, who was my former partner, who's an attorney, and he directed the Koboris Project and initiated a course in the prison systems in Georgia called Emotional Maturity Instruction. Dan was the one who introduced me to Aramaic forgiveness. Thank you. I'll be forever grateful to you, Dan, for that. I'm looking at his picture right now as we speak. He's left his body behind. Accolades and appreciation to you, Dan.
We have a hand.
Great. Let's say hello to our caller.
Okay, I believe that it is Bob in Australia. Welcome.
Hey, g'day, Gene.
Hey, young man, welcome.
Michael. Lovely to speak with you again.
Delighted, honored. What's on your mind for today?
My life is so blissful, and I'm on a creative roll at the moment. I can't stop writing and creating content about, people personally empowering themselves and healing themselves, because that I am the only one that can heal me. You know, it's
Yes.
all the answers are inside, and there's so much beautiful stuff going on in the world, but you don't see it on mainstream
Yes.
media, which is
Absolutely.
understandable. But I saw a lovely comment the other day, and it was either Charlie Chaplin or Einstein that said, you only need power to cause harm. For everything else, love is sufficient. And I thought that was beautiful.
Oh, that's interesting. Wow. That's what was stated by Einstein?
It was either Einstein or Charlie Chaplin.
Huh. You only need power to
Yeah.
inflict harm.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
All you
awesome.
Yeah, for everything else, all you need is love. All you need is love.
That's it.
Yeah.
There you go.
And,
Yeah, they sang it well, didn't they?
Yeah, and it's an amazing
Wow,
time,
that's powerful.
You know,
Thank you for that.
Well, there are no coincidences, are there, Michael? You know, these messages. It's like speaking my truth. I just see it as like I'm throwing a stone in the pond, and the ripples will go where they, you know, and land on foreign shores. I think that's what we're all doing, and I've come to realise that.
Yes.
I live under the KISS principle: keep it simple, sovereign, and and my new Sue principle, which is Sue, all are sovereign, unique, and equal, and everything else flows from that. But where I am now, what I radiate, I create. So I consciously choose to radiate joy.
Yes.
What comes back? It's so simple.
It's law. It can't be otherwise.
Yeah. Well, there's no mistake in the fact that all my dogs have been terriers, because they get it from me. You know, I'm a terrier. I gnaw down until I get to the fundamental truth of things, and I just wish I could share how blissful I feel with other people. And I think I'm doing that from the works that I'm producing, just like
Nice.
the works that you guys are producing. You know, I've come to the conclusion that the best thing that I can do is to just let my own light shine. You know, I can't do any better than that.
I join you in that, my friend. I'm looking at a website from Meaningful Living, and they repeat that quote just slightly differently. You only need power to do harm. Love is enough to do what matters. They don't attribute that to anyone. It's just there as a quote. They don't say who the author of it is.
Oh well,
interesting.
never mind.
But pretty close. Yeah. That's powerful. I'm going to use that one for sure.
Yeah. Well, I haven't got much more to share, really. You know, my life is awesome because I create it that way. You know.
There you go. I'm with you, my friend.
Yeah.
We're delighted to have you out there holding the space. And you know, when you talk about the that energy landing on other shores, I really hold that you being, you know, literally on the other side of the world from us, holding that space, that the energy between us touches everything and everybody in between. And to me, that's just awesome. So thank you for that.
Well, I asked myself this question, Michael, because where I'm living in the Whitsunday Islands is a region of outstanding natural beauty, but it's like a spiritual wasteland. And I thought, well, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? And then I realized that the brightest lighthouses, the brightest lights are built on the darkest shores. So I'm here for a reason. I'm here for a reason because this is where I'm needed the most. Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful, my friend.
I found
I'm looking
that
on
quote
Pinterest,
on
and
a site that
they're
says
attributing it to
Goodreads.
Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say Goodreads says that it's Charlie Chaplin.
Okay. Well, much love to you, and keep up the good
Cool.
work. Well,
hey, thanks for bringing that one in. I appreciate you, sir.
Bye for now. Love you all.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye. In searching for that, Jeannie, I came across another post that is interesting in the post, and it doesn't identify who it's from, but it says, and it kind of ties in with the with what I was saying about the commitment, the desire to inflict harm, to exercise unjustified power over others, is what draws people to embrace the absurd. That sure says it.
Can you send me the link to that and I'll put it in the notes?
I will, for sure. So we've got a caller. Let's say hello.
That was it. Bob was it.
Okay.
Nobody else has a hand up.
And
we've got 19 minutes.
Well, then it's time for somebody else to put their hand up. Let's go for it. And I just sent you that link. It's rashmanly.com. That says a mouthful. There's certainly lots of insanity being embraced in our world today. And people willing to embrace that insanity to just for the sake of power. I think it's the whole root of what I call the MAWA, M-A-W-A, Make America White Again movement. And it's time for us to get out of the weakness of thinking that in order for somebody else to, or for us to win, somebody else has to lose. It's a powerful thought, the desire to inflict harm to exercise, the desire to inflict harm to exercise unjustified power over others, is what draws people to embrace the absurd. And certainly a lot of what's going on is absurd and infantile. The infantile mind wants to control everything and everyone around it. And it's interesting, oftentimes the people, politically, without getting into a big political discussion, but politically, oftentimes the people who are trying to exercise that kind of insane power are called, quote unquote, strongmen. And the truth is, they're the weakest of the weak because they can't even control themselves. And that effort to try to control everyone else through all kinds of vicious, vile means is just so out of harmony with human life. It's amazing. And so we're here to bring sanity to the game. On the next level,
well, we've been talking about
human life.
Insanity, and we've talked about food and eating, and it just triggered, Aria about 5 or 6 weeks ago was really sick. She was like 7 times in a day, and then she complained about her stomach hurting for a few days, but she didn't get sick again. And then there'd be a day and she'd throw up, and then she'd seem to be better. She never run a fever with it. Well, it's ongoing. Well, this weekend, Gabby was out of town, my daughter-in-law.
Thank God for your intuition, sweetie.
Ryan was keeping Aria at home, and he said that she got sick again, and he just happened to mention, he said, I don't know what it is. I said, well, she was fine on Friday, and when we had her, and he mentioned that when they had gotten home that, she had a snack of Lucky Charms while he was fixing dinner, and then she ate a cheeseburger, and then later she got sick. And it was just intuitive, and I was actually going to look up just to see what the ingredients were in Lucky Charms. And when I Googled it, the first thing that popped up was that the FDA was investigating that there had been hundreds of people that were getting sick after eating Lucky Charms. And so we've submitted a thing to FDA, that she may be part of that group or whatever. So, we've just got to be so aware of what's in, first thing would be to not eat processed food. But, it's like, there was even one question that said, well, is Lucky Charms fatal? And one of the responses was, well, not if you don't eat too much of it or something like that. It's like, come on, this is food that's fed to children all over the place, and I don't know. Anyway, we just need to be more conscious of what we're putting in our bodies.
Yeah, and the truth is, it's not food either. We call it food. There's another one of the things we've been brainwashed into, to think that just like people think animals are food, animals aren't food. Processed foods, quote unquote foods, are not foods. They're pretend foods. It's sophistry. That old trick of the sophists were a group of Greek philosophers who traveled around Greece, charging big bucks to the wealthy, specifically teaching the wealthy how to lie, but couched their lies in terms that made their lies appear true. Sophistry. And to even call what comes in a box food is to lie to ourselves, to be scammed. And it's time for us to simply wake up to who we are and recognize that human life is about something different. So let's talk about it. What's on your mind? How are you today? 563-999-3581 if you're on one of those stations where we can't see you. If you dial that number, you're listening to the show. Push 1. And let's have a conversation. How's the work impacting you? Is there anything that you have to share about your take on the work? The way it has changed your life. Would love to hear from you. You never know when your words might be the ones that inspire someone else, and where they thought, oh, that could never change for me, and you're telling your story about how it changed. Another quote that I come across on that same site that I just sent you, Jeannie, from Voltaire: whoever can make you accept an absurdity can make you commit injustice. Voltaire made the observation that toleration of the absurd and toleration of injustice are one thing. Whoever can make you believe the absurd, an absurdity, can make you commit injustice. Time to wake up in America. Time to wake up in the world. Time to be finished with the craziness that passes as sanity. And oftentimes, I think, simply because people have never thought of it, don't know any better. So if you're out there and listening, and push 1. Come on, let's have a conversation. I mean, we've covered lots of ground. Has anything that I've said challenged your thinking? If I'd said it on a platform in your hometown, if I was at your local, bar, and I've done workshops in bars, in your local church or your local prison or your local library or university or school auditorium, and I walk down off the stage after having the conversation, Jeannie and I having the conversations we've just had, what would your question be? What would you be saying? What would you be coming up if I stepped down off the stage? You could just walk over and say, hey, Michael, what about? What would your what about be? I'd love to hear it. And the idea of this show is to give a space for us to have that conversation. So the monologue is over. The mono part of the log is complete. If you have a thought, let's talk about it. If not, then, Jeannie, we've got a lot on our list. Maybe we let the show go for today or for the rest of the day. So it's kind of a last call for push 1. Let's have a conversation. How can we support you? Maybe you've got a question about the website or the app or anything.
We've had a couple of new people just pop on in the last 5 minutes. So if you have a question, please press 1 and it'll put you up in queue.
Yes, you've just jumped on the show. You've missed our conversation so far, but hey, who knows what you might get us started on. So what's on your mind? Why did you come to the show? What are you interested in? How can we support you?
Well, maybe, a hand just went up. 808, I believe it's Roma. You're on the air.
Hi. Yeah, I was
Hey,
one
welcome,
of those,
young lady.
I just tuned in. I was sleeping late because I had a weird experience last night. I woke up in the middle of the night. Well, I woke up in the middle of the night, and I have a floor lamp that's right by the bed, so I just reached my arm out to turn it on, and it didn't turn on. There was no light. So I got up and turned the bathroom light on, and when I came back to the bed, I looked and I saw that it had been unplugged. The cord had been pulled out from under the bed, and the lamp had been unplugged. And that is really weird.
Got up
really
in
weird.
your sleep and unplugged the lamp?
Well, I mean, what else could it be? It's just very strange. But no, the reason I pressed 1 was because I came in on the conversation about that food that I would forget your little girl's name.
The Lucky Charms and kids and poison or sickness, yeah.
Yeah, what is it? It was a box of candy? What kind? It was a box of something.
No, it's a breakfast cereal called Lucky Charms.
Holy cow.
I talk about a misnomer, Lucky Charms.
My gosh, that is really...
Yeah.
That's really strange. Yeah. So, I don't know. It was a little bit spooky, what happened with the light. I went to the front door to make sure it was locked, and it was. So I don't know what the heck, I mean, I can't figure that out. How the lamp is plugged.
Probably not really worth any more energy than that.
Well,
so what else is
comes
exciting in your world?
Nothing. I just wanted to take that into my mind.
Well, we will see you tomorrow night at the second session of the Mind Shifters and Still Point Breathing session then.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. Okay, take care. Blessings. Jeannie, that one that I sent you, the quote, the desire to inflict harm, to exercise unjustified power, I've been looking at the website behind that. I wouldn't put that on the site. It's a bunch of trash.
Okay.
And so, well, if we don't have any other hands up, then I'm going to go to work on some other projects and say thank you for everybody for joining us today, and we hope you have the best year yet of your eternal life. It's an awesome gift to give the world. I'd rather have a conversation with somebody. If you're out there with something on your mind, push 1 and let's do it. Otherwise, we're going to let it go for today. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. Blessings. Bye-bye.